Hello and welcome to La Vida Fútbol. My name is Laureano. I am a UEFA B licensed coach. Today's video is a tactic video on the 3-3-2-2 formation. We're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of this formation, both offensively and defensively. And if you are new to my channel, remember to subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you get notified every time I come out with a new video. If you like the video and enjoy it and learn something new, kick that like button because that supports this channel. Let's get started. The 3-3-2-2 formation is a formation that has 4 lines. So you have the back line of 3 that is made up of the 4, 5, and 3. The midfield line that is made up of the 2, the 6, and 7. And then we have what we can call 2 number 10s or 2 offensive midfielders, the 8 and 10, and 2 forwards, 11 and 9. Okay, so this formation I consider to be a more offensive and dynamic variation of the 3-5-2 because the 3-5-2 has the same concept. You have 3 in the back. The back line, theoretically, you can say that the 7, 6, and 2 here are also one line and the 8 and 10 are another line. But that just depends on how the 3-5-2 is used. So for example, the 3-5-2 can also be used where you have here, for example, the 8, 6, and 10 are a little bit more in a line, just a bit staggered, and that's just more for shifting and moving together. The wing backs are alone on the outsides so that they can use the entire lane to either defend and attack. The difference between the 3-3-2-2 and the 3-5-2 is that the 3-5-2 has more of a defensive mentality because it is so easy to defend in a 5-3-2 because typically with the 3-5-2 you refer back to a 5-3-2 during defense. And in order to do this, that would require your wing backs to be in a line with the back 3. Okay, so then that essentially leaves the wings open and is more structured to defend either with the midfield press or a defensive press. So if we look back at the 3-3-2-2, here we can see that with the 2 offensive midfielders, you have a little bit more of a dynamic formation because here you can at any point have 4 attackers, and by having 4 attackers, you can have your outside midfielders stay back a little bit to either cross balls or to play 1-2s with the number 10s or to play together with one of the forwards. So offensively, this formation offers a lot of options. Defensively, this formation you can defend in different formations. So defensively, you can defend with the 3-4-3 by having one of the offensive midfielders push up and having the other one get in line with the number 6 so that you have a 3-4-3. You can also defend in a 3-5-2, so just bringing everybody back a little bit. And if you want, you can also defend in a 5-3-2 if you want to be a little bit more defensive. If you use this, then you would be further back so that you employ either a middle field press or a defensive press. So on its face, I wouldn't use this formation to do a high press, simply because if you do a high press, you have so many players forward that you essentially leave your back line of 3 to be exploited with speed, with quick and fast players on the outside. Let's take a look, for example, here. So if we do a high press here, for example, we could also have a front line of 4, and then we can have the 3 midfielders securing the midfield. By pushing those players up, you would leave some space here on the wings. And normally that would be okay, right? If you have 4 players up and you leave the wings open because you're compact. But when you only have 6 players defending the center block, then it's a little bit more difficult to defend versus teams that play a little bit more direct. So if you're playing against teams that are a little bit more direct, then defending with this formation, pushing the number 2 and the number 7 too high, it could be a little bit too dangerous. So then it'd be a little bit wiser to bring them back, secure the center of the pitch, have these players potentially tuck in a little bit, and then have the forwards essentially push back as well, and then focus more on a midfield press. And depending on how the team builds up, if they build up or if they play long balls, if you're playing against a team that builds up, or if it's a more direct team, then you definitely wouldn't want your back line to be too high because there's essentially 50 meters of open field behind the back line of 3, and that is space you don't want to give away. Okay, so depending on the opponents, that would determine whether you want to press high or not. Okay, so I would consider this one of the weaknesses is that that you can't really employ a high press with this formation, simply because it leaves the outside lanes too vulnerable and it leaves your back line of 3 too vulnerable. Okay, so then I wouldn't use it. Of course you can, like I said earlier, use a 3-4-3. Then you have a little bit more of distribution there. So you have more pressure up top with the 3-4-3. You have a good balance in the midfield. There is a gap between the first and second lines of defense. And if you're playing against a team that has 2 pivots, that could be a little bit dangerous, because if you have 2 players there, then this would require the lines to be a little bit more compact, essentially allowing space on the wings. The opponents and what they are using and what this formation is playing against is very important. Playing against a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3, then you can have the distribution like we have here. The 3-4-3 would be good to defend against those. Of course, playing against a 4-3-3, you would need to consider the 2 forwards. So then this would require the 2 and the 7 to be a little bit farther back. But nevertheless, the 3-4-3 is a little bit more appropriate for a high press. Again, I wouldn't use the 3-3-2-2 as a formation to use for a high press. I would consider it more for a defensive press or a midfield press, just because of the space that it allows. Because you do have a good block in the center and you do have a player on the outside, but when you have partnerships on the outside that your outside midfielders are playing against, then you're in trouble, right? Then you have a 2 versus 1 numerical disadvantage on the wings, and that could be easy for the opponents to play through. That's just something to watch out for. So now, one of the things I like and that I consider a strength with this formation is that you have 4 lines, right? So all this allows for a lot of movement. There's a lot of opportunity to score depending on, where you want to attack, because you have players on the outsides that they can essentially occupy and use the wings. You have 3 players in the center, and then you have the 2 forwards, right? So when you have 2 forwards, that is already requiring a little bit more attention from the back line of the opponents. And when you have the 2 outside midfielders, this would essentially add to the attack. And having 2 offensive midfielders, at any point you can have 3 forwards. And like I mentioned earlier, if both of them push up, this would allow less running to the outside midfielders. So then the number 6 can play a ball to the outside when they are open, and they cross a ball into the penalty area, where you have 4 players ready to receive the ball and to attack the goal. Okay, but one thing to consider here is that you do not want your number 8 and number 10 to be in one line. You want to have them a little bit staggered. So all 4 can push up, but one has to be ready in case the ball goes out, because again, here you have the number 6 and the number 6 is alone. Okay, so during the attack, it's just something that needs to be cared for and observed. So depending on how many players the opponents have in between the number 8 and 10 and the number 6, then that would require one of the players to stay back a little bit more than the other. And depending on how many players are in that space would determine how far back the offensive midfielder is. Okay, so then there is a lot of opportunity to move with this formation, and I consider that one of the strengths. And it's so easy to adapt to really any formation that is with 3 in the back. Like I mentioned earlier, you can do a 3-4-3, right? You have your number 10 going between the forwards to play as a center forward, have the number 8 and number 6. You can also have the 3-5-2, right? Your number 8 and your number 10 are a little bit farther back and a little bit more in line with the number 6. Still, of course, a little bit staggered to allow for variability. So then you can have that. You can also have, of course, the more defensive minded formation. So you can have the 5-3-2 as well. And if you really want to attack, then you can have your players push up high up the pitch, and then you can play with a 3-3-4 formation, right, at any given point during an attack. So that is something that I like and I consider a strength with this formation. So there's a lot of opportunity for space. There is a lot of movement that is available, and of course having the right players for this can essentially be a strength for this formation. So those are just some things to consider with a 3-3-2-2 formation, some strengths and weaknesses to consider. If you have any questions regarding this formation, comment that in the comment section below. If you have any ideas for any new videos, comment that in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to subscribe, turn on your notifications so you get notified every time I come out with a new video. Click that like button. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.